What's up, Geeks and Gamers? It's Jeremy coming to you with another video, and today we are talking about Skull Island Rise of Kong, one of the worst games we have seen in many, many years. Some are saying it's the worst game of this year, rivaling Gollum, and a lot of people are saying it's worse than Gollum, and we're finding out now how that game actually got to this point, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, I have played Skull Island Rise of Kong, and it is terrible. It's broken, it's buggy, it's boring. There's really no point to play this game whatsoever. And graphically, it would barely compete with a mid-level PS2 game. If that, it really is a bad game, and there's no way to spin that. But with the more information we have now, we're finding out that it really comes down to crunch. It's the fact that the developer did not have enough time to actually properly make this game, and that makes a lot of sense. So here the article is. It says the Bad King Kong game is part of a vicious cycle of licensed titles, developers say. Game Mill gave Iguanabee a year to make Skull Island Rise of Kong. Now, I have a history with both Game Mill and Iguanabee. I have spoken with both of them. This was after my criticisms of the G.I. Joe Operation Blackout game. Game Mill reached out to me. The CEO called me personally. Not only did he appreciate my criticisms, he asked me for more criticisms and for more feedback, which I greatly appreciated. And we had a great phone call. Had more interactions with them, and then eventually they put me in contact with Iguanabee, which was the developer on Operation Blackout. And again, another great phone call. Both companies and both people that were involved with the companies were wonderful to talk to, and that meant a lot to me as a fan because Operation Blackout was not good. Now, there were good things about it that I praised, where I said the animations, what they did with G.I. Joe, the characters, all of that was good, the cutscenes, but the gameplay was horrible. And it wasn't as bad as Kong, but it was bad. But right here it says, when Skull Island Rise of Kong released earlier this week, we reported on the visceral social media reactions and its rudimentary gameplay, PS2-esque graphics, and left-fielded bugs, with many calling it the worst game of 2023. The reason it received the dubious title, however, is apparently because the developers only had a year to work on Kong's latest video game outing. And again, it makes a lot of sense. And it has been roasted beyond belief on the internet. My goodness, it's been glorious too. Per a new report from The Verge, developers at Iguanabee, an indie studio based in Santiago, Chile, said they were contracted by Game Mill to create Skull Island from scratch with a strict one-year turnaround, with development starting last June and expected to be wrapped up June 2nd, 2023. One developer said the crunch to meeting that deadline was really set in motion in February. To those who spoke to The Verge under the condition of anonymity pointed to a vicious cycle of licensed games published by the company. Basically, although Iguanabee wants to work on original projects like their well-received original game, What Lies in the Multiverse, they are beholden to companies like Game Mill for funding, who have licensed titles. And then their portfolio is filled with licensed games, inadvertently making them a go-to. It's a love-hate relationship because they are the ones who accept or give the projects, and Iguanabee doesn't have the means to develop almost anything on its own, well, because of money, explained one developer. Sad, sad reality of where we are. It was very common for us not to be provided with all the information about the project, said the developer, which was quite frustrating when working, because we had to improvise with limited information we had on hand. They added, I remember very well that they let go of a colleague who had been there longer than me. Deep down, I knew it was because the publisher didn't provide them with enough funding to maintain a certain number of people for an extended period. Game Mill has not responded to IGN's request. Most games, whether they're based on a licensed IP or not, take more than a year for studios to develop to give players the best gameplay experience and highest quality possible. That's why game delays are not terribly uncommon, even if they're bemoaned by fans in the moment. We gave, meaning IGN, a Skull Island a 4 in our preview, saying it makes no meaningful attempts to do anything new or clever with mindless combat and pointless platforming that make it feel like a worse version of every action game from the last 20 years. I have not played all the way through the game, but giving it a 4 to me is way too nice. Way too nice. In terms of this whole situation, it does suck, and I agree with what was said in towards the end of the article. Whenever we hear that a game is being delayed, I think generally speaking at this point in time, most gamers look at that in a very positive way, because we have seen far too many titles release and be sold for full price and be broken as hell, and it take 6 months to a year for them to fix that. And people are sick and tired of that. And it severely hurts the game when that happens, because when you release a highly anticipated game and it's broken, it's hard to recover from that. I mean, Cyberpunk definitely recovered, but it was hell. It was hell for them to go through all of that. But they finally did recover. And that was one of the biggest releases we've had in a long, long time. Something like No Man's Sky released, and it took them a long time. And now No Man's Sky is arguably, at least according to people that have been playing it, it's extremely good now. And when it released, it was not something that made a lot of people happy, and they lost a lot of that momentum. And I don't know if they've gotten all that momentum back. It was hard to believe that they got all that momentum back. So game delays, generally speaking, are a good thing. They're not always, it's not always a guarantee, but generally speaking, it is a good thing. I do hate that this has happened again with Game Mill and Iguana Bee, because based on my limited interactions with both of them, and they genuinely seemed like they wanted feedback. They genuinely seemed like, hey, we want to hear what your issues were so we can improve. And I appreciate that, and I will continue to appreciate that. Um, Depends on how far down this rabbit hole I go. I may try to contact Game Mill and see if they'd be willing to talk to me about some of this, but I don't know. That's not something I historically have done. If people reach out to me, I will try to maybe have a conversation. I mean, if originally Game Mill reached out to me when I did my reaction to G.I. Joe Operation Blackout and offered me codes, and I didn't respond because I didn't want codes. I don't like taking any type of freebies or early access from any companies or studios. That's just not the way I am. Um, but I didn't take the free access, but I did buy the game when it came out, and I roasted it. And then when the CEO spoke with me, he's like, "Yeah, I want more feedback," and all you can do is appreciate that. So you guys let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you played Kong? I mean, it's not like anything else is out. It's not like Super Mario Wonder's out. It's not like Spider-Man 2 is out. And I have played both of them. And I will say, I mean, they're both fantastic in their own right. There's some problems with Spider-Man 2 that I can get into later. And it's not really about the gameplay or the mechanics or anything like that. But in terms of Mario Wonder, it's a really good game. It is not like nowhere close to Super Mario World, and Super Mario World, I hold that game in such high regard, and one of the greatest games ever made. But Super Mario Wonder is a really good game. It's really solid. I'm really enjoying it. And I'm not someone that will not let something top my Super Nintendo classics. For instance, Metroid Dread, I did not expect that to top Super Metroid for me, and it did, in my opinion. I love Metroid Dread, one of my favorite games of all time. Mario Wonder's really good. Now, I'm not done with the game, but I have had a lot of fun playing it so far. So I'll give you more feedback on that on Tuesday night's main event. You guys have a great day. Thank you very much for checking out this video, and we will talk to you later.